All right, ladies and gentlemen, Facebook Live on this wonderful Thursday, and today we have an extra special treat. Okay, we have one of the founding members of Berkshire. It wasn't called that then, but Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. Okay, it was called a little something different back then. And also, every time I go to a convention, he's also one of the top 5 in commercial award winners at the national convention. We have Mr. Jack Woodcock from the Sahara branch. Welcome, Jack.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you. It's so nice to be here.
And the studio audience goes crazy.
Oh, yes. I can hear them in the background. How nice.
Exactly. So Jack, this we're doing this live. It's also for California and Arizona. Everybody in Nevada knows who you are, but take a moment, tell them how long you've been doing this, a little history, and a little, all about what you're all about. I'm sure they'd love to hear that.
Well, I'm like most people in Nevada. I wasn't born here. I was born somewhere else and found my way here. In my case, I came in the military back in 1971. Spent my last year of my 11-year career out at Nellis Air Force Base. Got out and never looked back. And so I got in the real estate business in 1974. Worked at a company called Jack Matthews and Company with a couple of guys that developed a management principle that we all kind of agreed to, and so the three of us decided in 1979 we'd start our own company, and so we built the company from just the three of us and a few folks, and it was called Americana Group Realtors. We were independent for about a year, and then in 1980, Meredith Corporation decided to extend their brand into the real estate business. So they started a real estate affiliate called Better Homes and Gardens Realty, and so we became Americana Group Better Homes and Gardens until 1999. In 1999, we merged with the current Prudential Company, and we became Prudential Americana until 2014. In 2014, when Mr. Warren Buffett, my buddy over my shoulder here.
I see that picture. So awesome.
Yes, it's pretty amazing. I have a great story about that. But anyway, he decided he would buy out Prudential real estate affiliates. And so we became Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Nevada Properties. And of course, that's Home Services, Arizona Properties, and California Properties. And so that's kind of the backstory of how I got into the business. I've obviously been in the business since 1974.
That is so awesome.
So it's been an amazing ride.
It's amazing. You started in the area in the military, and that's so awesome. And, as you can probably tell by now, Jack has a pretty killer voice too. And when I first met him, they just unveiled the video, which I was like, I thought it was, I still watch it. It's on YouTube if you want to see it. It's about the history of the Board of Realtors in Las Vegas. And Jack, if you could just give them like a couple of highlights from that video, because I think it's pretty awesome.
Well, Las Vegas is pretty unique in itself. Las Vegas means the meadows, and it became a watering station for the Southern Pacific Railroad back in the early 1900s. And so it grew as a city until about 1951 or 52 without getting a great deal of attention other than the infamous brothels and the houses of ill repute downtown that add a little color to our story, as we always love to talk about Las Vegas, especially those of us who are transplants. The folks that were born and raised here, they have a whole different look at that. I mean, they think that was just part of a normal existence.
Right.
But getting back to the real estate business, when we started, we started in the business when we only had 1,500 people in the business, because there was only about 250,000 people in the entire valley. Now we have 2.4 million people today. So just think of the differences in the way you function in the real estate business from the time you have 250,000 people to the time you have 2.4 million. Dramatic. And so over the years, our facilities were in need of expansion. So I was in a position as president of the board in 1986 to help do the site selection, pick the contractor, and see the building all through its construction in 1986. And then not that long ago, in 2019, I did the same thing all over again with our brand new facility for the Board of Realtors on Rainbow. I did the site selection, helped pick the contractor, and saw the construction through to the very end. And today it's a highly acclaimed building, something
Sure is.
our profession would be very, very proud of.
It's true, and the renaming of it and everything too. I kind of like the old name though, Galvar. Sounded cool.
Some of us still like the Galvar building and the Galvar name. That's true.
Yeah, and just to show them, okay, so everybody looking at us on Facebook, I know you may find this hard to believe, but my backdrop is not actually real. But Jack's is. That's his actual office, and you built that yourself, didn't you?
I did. Woodworking is one of my passions. Gardening is another, and I try to work a little golf in once in a while.
Awesome, good.
But
Yeah,
woodworking is. I have a great woodworking shop at my house, and that's where I can go out and just kind of get away from everything for a while.
Good. Well, we'll have to play golf sometime because I've been picking it up the last few years, and I really enjoy it too.
Well, I also want you to see that I have all of my fingers, and most woodworkers don't.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So, you know what? It must be amazing to be here in Vegas, as long as you have and see all the changes and all the changes in real estate. But, as real estate has changed, a lot of the dynamics and the basics have stayed the same, haven't they?
They certainly have. Oftentimes, they'll ask you, well, in various ways, they'll ask the question, well, what do you think is the most important attributes or the characteristics to be successful? The ways we often answer that is there's only a couple of things that one needs to come to the table with, so to speak, when it comes to being good in the real estate business. You have to come to the table with a good work ethic. You have to show up, right? And that's very basic. But everybody doesn't have that characteristic. And the other is reasonably good human relation skills. You need to get along with others, and you need to like to be in the presence of others, and you have reasonably good conversational skills. I often say we have all the tools to help you in every other respect, but you do need to come to the table with a good work ethic and reasonably good human relation skills. And I like to think that many of us are good examples of that, because when I came here in 1971, after being in the military for 10 years at the time, and I was in the kind of work environment, I didn't have to be a good conversationalist. Everything I did was in short, little parts of a conversation. So I could hardly put 4 or 5 words together in a sentence, frankly. And so I worked very diligently, went to Toastmasters and did I took a Dale Carnegie course early on. And I really believe that helped me immensely when it came to being a manager and overseeing a real estate office and helping build a company and working today with buyers and sellers and representing our company out in the marketplace.
Yeah, so true. Those are things. And like you just said, it's like I tell them, Jack, everybody, if you're going to play basketball, I mean, being 6'9", like LeBron James, and being talented, but he still has to work and practice every day. The difference is real estate, they're not necessarily talents. They're traits that you can develop if you work on it, right? So like you said, you took Toastmasters, you took the Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence, which I love, by the way. There's a new one out. I don't know if you've seen it on audio, called How to Win Friends and Influence People in the Digital Age. Really good. But yeah, you got to work on this, right?
That would be a great update, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is a great update. But it's work. And obviously you're not afraid to work. Still kicking butt. Give me a little idea of what you guys do as your team, because you got a pretty good sized team there. What do you do, and what kind of production levels are you guys looking for this year, and all that good stuff?
Well, we're not setting the world on fire this year. However, we have come to work every single day. We haven't missed a day during this entire COVID situation. We've been extra careful. We've only had one person on the team that's had any kind of a challenge with COVID. Everyone else has maintained social distancing. We wear masks. We don't have any objection to wearing masks when it is apparent that we need to.
Right.
We encourage people to do that. And so when it comes to production, we're not going to probably be quite as good as 2019. 2019 was a pretty good year for us.
Yeah.
But when you do the kind of real estate we do, we go back and forth. We're not normal. We go back and forth from commercial and residential.
Right.
And because having the designations and having the experience and the longevity in the business enables us to do things in that fashion. And so we're going to have probably somewhere in the neighborhood of a $35 million year. And right. The biggest majority of that's going to be in commercial, because the large commercial transactions really add to that overall GCI number. But we have about 7 or 8 people that are really working in our team.
Right.
And we've been doing it without an administrative person for the last 6 months, which has not been easy. That means our team manager has been overworked, and we're going to start looking at hiring that administrative person here right away, so we can gear up for 2020. We're going to be prepared for 2021. I mean, 21. No matter what happens on the 3rd of November.
Okay, you still work. Is Jeff your manager? Is that still Jeff over there?
Yeah, Jeff. Jeff is the manager, team manager, and he does an amazing job.
I was going to say that's the key to having a team that size, is you got to have somebody that's really good, and it seems like he's a hard worker and gets stuff done for you.
And he really gets it. He understands the importance of taking good care of the team members. We do a lot of things for our team members that oftentimes they're relegated to do themselves. So we do a lot of that for them. And he certainly understands the commercial side of the business as well as the residential side, which is extremely helpful for me, because I'm at that point where I try to be engaged in every transaction, but it's very difficult to do so. So I'm in that stage in my career where I'm delegating a lot more, and I'm finding that I absolutely have to in order to keep up with the level of production.
Absolutely. Yeah. You want your team members out there listing and selling, and Jeff to hold down the fort, and then an administrative person to help them would actually be very helpful for sure.
That is true. Yes.
Great. So so you mentioned, you had a great 2019, 35 million is a very, very good year. A lot of teams would love to have that. What is the ultimate goal? What would you guys like to be doing by the time 2021 ends? What would be what would be a great year for you?
Great year is 50 million.
50 million.
50 million is quite doable with the way we're going with the commercial side of our business. We are seeing that there are far more people moving here from California than we anticipated. And a lot of those folks are looking at not only relocating, but buying and expanding a business that they had already started in California.
Yeah.
So we're putting a lot of emphasis on that. And that in turn helps us on our residential side, because they'll be bringing team members, people who are already working for them here, and it creates additional jobs in our economy. And so we're capturing a lot of that. In fact, a good friend of mine, Dick Crawford in Anaheim Hills, and I collaborate from time to time and refer business back and forth to each other. And he's a good example of someone within our network who sends business our way, and we are always give him the credit, because believe me, he works hard and he is a great example of a good Berkshire agent in our network.
Oh, he's sure. Dick's in my coaching. Dick's been coaching with me for about 3 years now. Love Dick. Yeah, he's in the Anaheim Hills office.
That's
Great
correct.
guy. He is a great guy.
He is a great guy. No,
Did you
no
see him
question.
during the pandemic? He looked like Yule Givens. He didn't shave for the whole pandemic until
Oh,
recently.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I did a little Facebook Live with him too, and I made him keep it until after. I mean, the beard until we did it Facebook Live. He looked like, well, let's put it this way: he looked like he could have been related to the Unabomber, the way he looked. Yes, at that
Oh,
time.
I see.
All right, well, Jack, while I have you here, one of the things that, and I love to see people in business. I used to have a guy in my local market that was like a guy very similar to you who had been in the business for a long time. And I happened to be lucky to be in the same business with him. And his name was, I don't know if you've ever heard the name Sam Tamposi. He was a part owner of the Red Sox, and he was very impressive. He put Nashua, New Hampshire on the map, I would say. And his son is still over there rocking and rolling. And I would meet with him every now and then. And he would say, he said to me, he gave me the best piece of advice. He said, Rick, do you know what the 7 most inspirational 2-letter words are in the dictionary? And I said, no, Sam, what are they? He said, if it is to be, it is up to me. Actually, it's 9. I'm sorry, not 7. Right? And I always thought, what a great attitude to have. And I know you have that great attitude. So for all these people out here that are trying to kick in the gear or maybe get into the next gear, or people just starting out, what were the 2 or 3 most important things you would tell them to focus on to really give this business their full?
Well, in the very beginning, you're going to find yourself dealing with mostly people you know, and you're going to network, and you're going to figure out how you can leverage the relationships that you have in order to expand your business. And the single most important thing that I look back on, and I can say that I did not do very well, and I don't think most of us continue to do very well, and that is maintaining contact with everyone you deal with. Establish your sphere of influence, write it down, and then figure out a way to manage it and keep in contact with those folks.
Mm,
A customer relationship tool is absolutely the one thing that most of us don't put the emphasis on that we should.
right.
And so when I look at that as one of the things that I could have done better, we would have been at 50 million in 2019. We
Yeah.
would we would be looking at a totally different number in 2021. And so in many respects, keep in touch with everybody that you know. And another thing that I found that is, to some people, they haven't figured it out all to this extent, but I've been involved in this community since day one and growing with this community from the time it had 250,000 people to now, and working on your reputation and being involved in all kinds of things like Rotary, the Nevada Development Authority, the LVGEA, the organizations that go out and do all kinds of charitable things for the community, and keeping yourself exposed out into the community with those kinds of things always helps your reputation. And then, needless to say, you work for your profession. You become a member of the rulemaking body, so that someone else is not out there making rules that affect you that you have no input in.
Right.
So get involved with your local association, and then and get involved in NER. And I can tell you that that helps you create relationships all over the country. And
Mm,
nothing's better than having referrals coming in on a regular basis. Some people say, "Well, boy, aren't you fortunate?" Well, it takes
mhm.
work. I mean, they have to know you, and they have to respect you and trust you with that client. And so, frankly, staying in contact with people from the very beginning, and giving back to your community are a couple of things that I would encourage anyone to do.
Yeah, those are awesome. And I'll put a shameless company plug in here. Everybody, the new VAC 2.0 is exactly set up to do what Jack just mentioned of keeping in touch. Put them in there. You set them up on auto, and it really does a great job for you. Okay, so awesome. Well, Jack, I just want to say, I know I only told you it'd be about 20 minutes today, so I know you're busy. I really appreciate you taking our time out today. Everybody, as I said, take a look at that video about the history of the Board of Realtors in Nevada, in Las Vegas, that Jack, what's the word I'm looking for, Paul?
Narrated.
Narrate. Thank you, Jack. That you narrate. I appreciate that. I really appreciate your time today. Everybody, we'll do this again next week. Really appreciate it. Thanks, Jack. Thanks for your time.
Rick, thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye.